Proverbs 25. Further wise sayings of Solomon. These also are proverbs of Solomon which the men of Hezekiah king of Judah copied. It is the glory of God to conceal things. But the glory of kings is to search things out. As the heavens for height, and the earth for depth, so the mind of kings is unsearchable. Take away the dross from the silver, and the smith has material for a vessel. Take away the wicked from the presence of the king, and his throne will be established in righteousness. Do not put yourself forward in the king's presence, or stand in the place of the great. For it is better to be told, "Come up here," than to be put lower in the presence of the prince. What your eyes have seen, do not hastily bring into court. For what will you do in the end, when your neighbor puts you to shame? Argue your case with your neighbor himself, and do not disclose another's secret, lest he who hears you bring shame upon you, and your ill repute have no end. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Like a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise reprover to a listening ear. Like the cold of snow in the time of harvest is a faithful messenger to those who send him. He refreshes the spirit of his masters. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts of a gift he does not give. With patience a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue will break a bone. If you have found honey, eat only enough for you, lest you be sated with it and vomit it. Let your food be seldom in your neighbor's house, lest he become weary of you and hate you. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a war club, or a sword, or a sharp arrow. Trust in a faithless man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth or a foot that slips. He who sings songs to a heavy heart is like one who takes off a garment on a cold day, and like vinegar on a wound. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will heap coals of fire on his head, and the Lord will reward you. The north wind brings forth rain, and a backbiting tongue, angry looks. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country. Like a mudded spring or a polluted fountain is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked. It is not good to eat much honey, so be sparing of complimentary words. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Proverbs 26. Like snow in summer or rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Like a sparrow in its flitting, like a swallow in its flying, a curse that is causeless does not alight. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the back of fools. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Like a lamb a man's legs, which hang useless, is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like one who binds the stone in the sling is he who gives honor to a fool. Like a thorn that goes up into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like an archer who wounds everybody is he who hires a passing fool or drunkard. Like a dog that returns to his vomit is a fool that repeats his folly. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. The sluggard says, "There is a lion in the road. There is a lion in the streets." As a door turns on its hinges, so does a sluggard on his bed. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish. It wears him out to bring it back to his mouth. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer discreetly. He who meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a passing dog by the ears. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, "I am only joking." For lack of wood the fire goes out, And where there is no whisperer, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner parts of the body. Like the glaze covering an earthen vessel, are smooth lips with an evil heart. He who hates, dissembles with his lips, and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not. For there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred be covered with guile, his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. He who digs a pit will fall into it, and a stone will come back upon him who starts it rolling. A lying tongue hates its victims, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Proverbs 27. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth. Let another praise you, and not your own mouth. A stranger, and not your own lips. A stone is heavy, and sand is weighty, but a fool's provocation is heavier than both. Wrath is cruel, anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy. He who is sated loathes honey, but to one who is hungry everything bitter is sweet. Like a bird that strays from its nest, is a man who strays from his home. Oil and perfume make the heart glad, but the soul is torn by trouble. Your friend, and your father's friend, do not forsake. And do not go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor who is near, than a brother who is far away. Be wise, my son, and make my heart glad, that I may answer him who reproaches me. A prudent man sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on, and suffer for it. Take a man's garment when he has given surety for a stranger, and hold him in pledge when he gives surety for foreigners. He who blesses his neighbor with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, will be counted as cursing. A continual dripping on a rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike. To restrain her is to restrain the wind, or to grasp oil in one's right hand. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. He who tends a fig tree will eat its fruit, and he who guards his master will be honored. As in water face answers to face, so the mind of man reflects the man. Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, and never satisfied are the eyes of man. The crucible is for silver, and the furnace is for gold, and a man is judged by his praise. Crush a fool in a mortar with a pestle, along with crushed grain, yet his folly will not depart from him. Know well the condition of your flocks, and give attention to your herds. For riches do not last forever, and does a crown endure to all generations? When the grass is gone, and the new growth appears, and the herbage of the mountains is gathered, the lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of a field. There will be enough goat's milk for your food, for the food of your household, and maintenance for your maidens. Proverbs 28. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. When a land transgresses, it has many rulers, but with men of understanding and knowledge, its stability will long continue. A poor man who oppresses the poor is a beating rain that leaves no food. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive against them. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity, than a rich man who is perverse in his ways. He who keeps the law is a wise son, but a companion of gluttons shames his father. He who augments his wealth by interest and increase, gathers it for him who is kind to the poor. If one turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer is an abomination. He who misleads the upright into an evil way will fall into his own pit, but the blameless will have a goodly inheritance. A rich man is wise in his own eyes, but a poor man who has understanding will find him out. When the righteous triumph, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, men hide themselves. He who conceals his transgressions will not prosper. But he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord always. But he who hardens his heart will fall into calamity. Like a roaring lion or a charging bear is a wicked ruler over a poor people. A ruler who lacks understanding is a cruel oppressor. But he who hates unjust gain will prolong his days. If a man is burdened with the blood of another, let him be a fugitive until death. Let no one help him. He who walks in integrity will be delivered. But he who is perverse in his ways will fall into a pit. He who tills his land will have plenty of bread. But he who follows worthless pursuits will have plenty of poverty. A faithful man will abound with blessings. But he who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. To show partiality is not good. But for a piece of bread a man will do wrong. A miserly man hastens after wealth, and does not know that want will come upon him. He who rebukes a man will afterward find more favor than he who flatters with his tongue. He who robs his father or his mother, and says, "That is no transgression," is the companion of a man who destroys. A greedy man stirs up strife. But he who trusts in the Lord will be enriched. He who trusts in his own mind is a fool. But he who walks in wisdom will be delivered. He who gives to the poor will not want. But he who hides his eyes will get many a curse. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves. But when they perish, the righteous increase.